Were you a dedicated viewer of Little House on the Prairie during its initial broadcast? Or did you find the appeal of Laura Ingalls and her relatives via repeated showings? The picturesque depiction of frontier existence might not have been as purely presented beyond the camera. Although the series conveyed the spirit of 19th century pioneer living there, existed more sinister truths hiding behind the lens. What were several of the startling controversies within the production? And in what ways did the behind-the-scenes happenings differ from the touching stories in the series? Come with us as we explore how this footage remained unaltered. Take another look at the Little House on the Prairie, teasing Melissa's sensibilities. Despite Laura Ingalls and Nellie Oleson appearing as fierce rivals on television, the performers behind these characters were actually close companions when not filming. Later in the show's run, when Nellie wed Percival, an interesting dynamic emerged. Steve Tracy, who portrayed Percival, was homosexual in reality. The fictional couple's relationship became a source of playful torment for Melissa Gilbert, and as Tracy and his co-star would engage in exaggerated romantic scenes deliberately to embarrass her. Laura's courtship with Almanzo lacked the theatrical passion that Nellie and Percival displayed, and their intentionally provocative performances were designed to provoke discomfort. Gilbert, being young and relatively sheltered, found their antics quite distressing. Substance dependency issues. Many would be dismayed to discover that numerous production members struggled with serious addiction problems. These dependencies frequently involved alcohol and controlled substances, both of which were present during filming. Reports indicate the crew consumed 2 cases of 30 beers daily. Particularly demanding production days earned the label 3-case occasions. According to Gilbert's published memoir, Landon ranked among the most significant drinkers. His mornings began with liquor-laced coffee, and drinking continued throughout filming. Most colleagues remained unaware of the extent of his consumption initially, as he concealed it skillfully. Eventually, however, the severity of his alcohol dependency became undeniable. Landon's actual heritage. Despite his character frequently promoting Christian values, Landon was ethnically Jewish. His birth name was Eugene Maurice Orowitz, not Michael Landon. Playing a Christian character didn't create any internal conflict for him regarding his heritage or personal philosophy. His upbringing occurred in New York and New Jersey. His father, Eli Maurice Orowitz, practiced Judaism while his mother, Peggy O'Neill, followed Catholicism. Landon later stated he identified with his father's cultural background, but didn't actively practice any organized religion. He maintained belief in a higher power while considering himself Jewish, purely in a cultural context. Artificial hair coloring. Landon's magnificent curls weren't entirely genuine. His distinctive dark brown appearance came from chemical dye. His natural shade was a more subdued ash-brown tone. He treated his appearance very seriously regularly, visiting professional stylists for proper color treatment. As gray hairs emerged, studio lighting and outdoor sunshine would cause the dye to develop an unusual violet tint. Professional color specialists had to be brought in to correct these issues. Controversial topics. Explored. Generally speaking, the program maintained an optimistic atmosphere. However, it periodically addressed quite provocative subject matter. This period marked television's expansion into previously taboo territory. Topics including sexual violence, substance abuse, racial discrimination, bias, adoption processes, and physical disabilities became regular themes. Very few contemporary programs dared approach such content, positioning the series as genuinely progressive for its era. Cast family connections. Willie Olson, portrayed by Jonathan Gilbert, and appeared as Nellie's younger sibling on screen. In actuality, he was Melissa Gilbert's adoptive brother. Unfortunately, their relationship deteriorated following the show's conclusion. Jonathan pursued an MBA in finance and currently works in stock trading in New York. Melissa continued her acting career and additionally served as Screen Actors Guild president between 2001 and 2005. In 2016, she campaigned for Michigan's 8th Congressional District House seat. Though positioned as the likely Democratic nominee, she withdrew due to injuries from a 2012 incident. The Mary-Laura dynamic. The actresses playing Mary and Laura Ingalls harbored mutual dislike. Melissa Anderson and Melissa Gilbert couldn't tolerate each other during their youth. Their animosity grew so intense that other cast members avoided getting involved. This feud persisted throughout the entire series run. Imagine collaborating with someone you despise for nearly a decade. These young performers not only struggled with compatibility, but engaged in constant disputes for 9 full years. Walnut Grove's authenticity. The Ingalls household existed near the actual village of Walnut Grove. Laura Ingalls Wilder, author of the original semi-biographical novels inspiring the show, spent several childhood years in Walnut Grove, Minnesota. While her books incorporated various significant locations from her life, the genuine Walnut Grove was established in 1874 and officially incorporated in 1879 within Redwood County, Minnesota. The community remains quite small, with approximately 86 residents as of 2019, occupying roughly 1 square mile. Production relationships. Little House on the Prairie represents one of those exceptional programs that defies replication. The ensemble's chemistry proved flawless. The powerful timing of thematic elements resonated perfectly with audiences, and its rural American setting evoked nostalgia for uncomplicated times. Rumors suggest a cinematic remake might be developing, though production has apparently stalled recently, perhaps appropriately so. Laura Ingalls Wilder created the book series as historical drama representing her Midwestern childhood between 1870 and 1894. The United States acquired much of the Midwest from France through the 1803 Louisiana Purchase. However, much territory remained unexplored and unsettled for considerable time. Homesteading gained popularity as families ventured into unknown lands, building residences. Homesteaders emphasized complete self-reliance, constructing their dwellings, cultivating their sustenance, and occasionally manufacturing their own garments. While the government romanticized this lifestyle to encourage Midwestern settlement, reality proved challenging. Laura Ingalls Wilder's family settled in Kansas when she was merely 3 years old, facing numerous hardships. Nevertheless, Laura's upbringing experiences inspired her eventual book series. The books achieved tremendous popularity throughout America, inspiring Ed Friendly to develop a television adaptation. After securing the rights, he quickly produced the series. Little House on the Prairie premiered September 11, 1974, concluding after 8 seasons on March 10, 1982. A modified version called Little House New Beginnings aired the subsequent year. The series became a household favorite because audiences enjoyed learning about pioneer-era existence. Even today, both young people and adults appreciate the series. Much success stems from the talented ensemble. Melissa Gilbert and Michael Landon shared a complicated bond. Gilbert portrayed series protagonist Laura Ingalls, while Landon played Pa Ingalls. When Melissa was 11, her adoptive father took his own life. Though initially told he'd suffered a stroke, Melissa felt she lacked a paternal figure. Upon being cast as Laura Ingalls, she developed deep admiration for Landon. They became extremely close with Landon, expressing fatherly love toward her. They enjoyed various activities during production breaks. However, their relationship deteriorated when Michael divorced his wife, pursuing a romantic connection with set makeup artist Cindy Clarico. Melissa, whose parents divorced when she was 8, felt betrayed. She became so upset she severed all contact. While they lost their close connection temporarily, Melissa eventually decided to reconcile. When Michael received a pancreatic cancer diagnosis, Melissa made amends. Following his death, she honored his memory by naming one of her children Michael. On-screen enemies, off-screen companions. While Melissa Gilbert portrayed Laura of the Ingalls family, Allison Arngrim played Nellie of the Olsen family. The Ingalls and Olsons were antagonistic on screen, with Laura and Nellie sharing particularly intense rivalry. However, despite portraying animosity convincingly for cameras, they were best friends in reality. They spent considerable time together outside work, engaging in various activities. They were so close they had sleepovers at each other's home. Remarkably, these young performers, who were such close companions, could act so hostile toward each other on screen, a testament to their remarkable talent. Melissa Gilbert found romance scenes challenging. Even currently, young actresses are frequently cast in romantic roles opposite significantly older men. This issue was even more pronounced during Little House on the Prairie production, creating particularly uncomfortable situations for Melissa Gilbert, who was 15 during her first on-screen kiss, also her first real kiss. In the series, Melissa's character, Laura marries Almanzo Wilder, portrayed by 23-year-old Dean Butler. The age difference made the experience nerve-wracking for Melissa, who felt uncomfortable kissing someone considerably older. Uncertain how to proceed, she consulted Michael Landon, a close friend and father figure who also directed episodes. Understanding her discomfort, Landon addressed her concerns seriously with producers. Fortunately, they were receptive and decided to modify the scene, replacing the kiss with a simple cheek peck. Teasing Melissa's discomfort, it was well known Melissa struggled portraying her on-screen romance with Dean Butler. While most cast members respectfully avoided embarrassing her, several friends and fellow performers saw it as an opportunity for teasing. Alison Arngrim, one of Melissa's closest friends, played Nellie, who later married Percival. Percival was portrayed by Steve Tracy, also good friends with Alison. They decided to exaggerate their romance both on screen and behind scenes just to annoy Melissa. They engaged in playful dramatic kissing sessions to make her uncomfortable, all in good fun, though Melissa likely felt quite embarrassed. While Steve Tracy and Alison Arngrim had no difficulty pretending passionate love, reality couldn't be more different. Though great friend Steve Tracy was gay, eliminating any possibility of genuine romantic connection with Alison. Not universal friendship existed. While Melissa Gilbert and Alison Arngrim were best friends behind scenes, universal harmony couldn't be expected. Though all performers could set aside differences for the show, tensions existed when cameras stopped rolling. Melissa Sue Anderson played Mary Ingalls, Melissa Gilbert's Laura's older sister. While appearing quite close in the show, they didn't get along whatsoever behind scenes. While nobody knows the precise reason for their feud, whatever differences, they had ran deep. Even years after the show ended, neither actor was willing to extend friendship. Melissa Gilbert explained her dislike toward Melissa Sue Anderson in Prairie, describing her as cold and bratty. However, we never received Melissa Sue Anderson's perspective, so the genuine reason behind their feud may remain perpetually mysterious. While Melissa Gilbert and Melissa Sue Anderson had the most pronounced mutual dislike, Melissa Gilbert wasn't alone in her sentiments. Other cast members reportedly found Melissa Sue Anderson icy toward them. However, some speculated that due to Melissa Sue Anderson's protective mother and sheltered upbringing, she may not have learned appropriate friendly behavior toward others. Cast members enjoyed playfulness. Despite some differences, most cast members had wonderful times together. Landon's practical jokes. Michael Landon was renowned for practical jokes. Melissa Gilbert and Alison Arngrim learned tricks from him. In one incident, they pranked fellow actors by placing plastic wrap over a toilet. William Olson and Laura Ingalls were siblings in reality. William Olson was played by Jonathan Gilbert, whose shared surname with Melissa Gilbert is no coincidence. They were adoptive siblings in real life. Sadly, Melissa Gilbert revealed in her autobiography they became estranged later in life despite their close upbringing. Some relationships fade over time. However, they still have opportunities to reconnect. Perhaps someday they'll be as close as when both acted in Little House on the Prairie. The series ended dramatically. Little House on the Prairie depicted the Ingalls family's farm life in Walnut Grove, Minnesota. Despite its uplifting tone, many episodes tackled difficult issues including poverty, divorce, addiction, abuse, and alcoholism. But even with unprecedented success, the show's controversial ending still generates discussion today. Much discussion involves speculation about why such a well-received show was canceled. Michael Landon, one of the lead actors and also a director, writer, and producer, explained exactly why it concluded. Landon had extensive directorial involvement. A star for 14 years on TV, Western Bonanza. Michael Landon worked opposite character actors like Lorne Greene and Dan Blocker. With such experience, he was already familiar when NBC producer Ed Friendly brought him in. He was set to not just star but also direct the 1974 pilot of the family drama set in 1800s Minnesota. Michael Landon portrayed Charles Ingalls, the Ingalls family patriarch. He was such a substantial participant, he appeared in nearly every episode across the first 8 seasons. Landon starred in and produced the first 8 seasons before going fully behind scenes for the final one, which saw a new family move into the house and Melissa Gilbert's Laura, now married, become the lead character. This final season was retooled as Little House: A New Beginning. Landon directed 90 out of 204 episodes. He even conceived the plot for the initial 2-hour pilot and final episode. According to Alison Arngrim, who played mischievous and spoiled Nellie Olson, Michael Landon's directing style was unique, but he met his tragic end dying from pancreatic cancer at age 54. He was known for being both charismatic and extremely welcoming on set. Michael acted as a father figure to both Melissa Sue Anderson and Melissa Gilbert, who played his daughters. Alison Arngrim opened up to Megyn Kelly in a 2018 Today Show interview discussing Michael Landon's habitual pranking. She praised his warm sense of humor and recounted how Landon once welcomed a female guest star to the Little House set. Most amusing errors. One of the funniest mistakes in the show is the obvious, at least in hindsight, inconsistency of Laura's pregnancy. According to Melissa Gilbert, who played Laura and Lenny Parker, who runs a fan website, Laura was pregnant for an extended period exceeding a year. She first announced pregnancy in a warm season, but by the following summer, she was still expecting. Another hilarious oversight is the appearance of Colonel Sanders, Kentucky Fried Chicken's founder, in a Season 8 episode titled Wave of the Future. In this episode, Nellie's restaurant becomes a franchise called Mrs. Sullivan, but she soon regrets it and attempts contract termination. Charles and Nellie help by opening a competing restaurant. Colonel Sanders then offers Harriet a deal to open her own chicken franchise. But this is anachronistic because Colonel Sanders wasn't born until 1890 and Kentucky Fried Chicken wasn't founded until 1952. Remember, the show is set in the 1870s and 1880s. In an episode titled The Odyssey from Season 5, an intense moment unfolds as an unknown assailant attempts throwing Albert off a moving train. But amidst the gripping scene, an amusing error emerges. Keen-eyed viewers can spot a peculiar sight. A dummy instead of a living person is hurled from the train, landing gracefully in grass. Meanwhile, the fearless stuntman gracefully rolls down the hill, surpassing the stationary dummy, in comical contrast. Amidst the earnestness of the Little House set, laughter and hijinks often emerged. One such purveyor of pranks was the talented Michael Landon. As Rachel Greenbush, who portrayed youngest Ingalls sibling Carrie, later revealed during an interview, Greenbush shared with a twinkle in her eye that Landon was a big practical joker. The mischievous duo of Greenbush and her on-screen sister Melissa Gilbert would venture to the creek during breaks, embarking on frog-catching escapades. They would return to set, delivering their slimy surprises to Landon. In a gleeful, deceptive act, Landon would take the unsuspecting amphibians and place them in his mouth. Approaching fellow cast and crew members with a mischievous grin, he would open his mouth, allowing the frog to spring forth and send those around him into startled panic. Peculiar occurrences. A subtle but noticeable error is the presence of noisy tree branches outside the front upstairs window next to the girl's bed. In at least 2 episodes, The Monster of Walnut Grove and The Music Box, the branches can be seen and heard moving and rustling as if strong wind exists outside, but there's no such tree near the house in any other scene. This likely results from using stock footage or sound effects to create atmosphere. A curious mistake some observant fans noticed is the family quilt seemingly magically changing locations. It appears on Olsen's bed, Charles's parents' bed, and even on other characters' beds throughout the series. The quilt is mostly white with small blocks forming a design similar to the double wedding ring quilt. Other quilts also appear in different locations, suggesting the show reused some props and costumes. Anachronistic clothing, a common error affecting many historical shows, is anachronistic clothing and hairstyles. Some Little House characters wear clothes or have hairstyles inappropriate for the 1870s and 1880s. For example, in some episodes, Caroline can be seen wearing a bra, which wasn't invented until 1912. Additionally, some women have perms for curls more typical of the 1970s than the 1880s. Melissa Gilbert herself acknowledges her hair was often too long and too modern for her character. One particular case stood out among fans. On the show's subreddit page, Reddit user Gorosaurus Rex fondly recalls their all-time favorite character Albert and highlighted a perplexing inconsistency in the made-for-TV movie. The story implied Albert met his demise, but in another episode it stated he grew up becoming the esteemed doctor of Walnut Grove. This discrepancy has always bothered fans, including Gorosaurus Rex, who mentioned it repeatedly to their boyfriend. As a remarkable anniversary surprise, their thoughtful partner arranged for Melissa Gilbert to send a personalized video message addressing the continuity confusion and providing her own explanation. In her response, Gilbert acknowledged the perplexing situation and shared a delightful tongue-in-cheek explanation. At the time, no one seemed concerned about conflicting stories, and Gilbert humorously suggested her own imaginative twist. She proposed Albert did meet his fate in the movie, but in a whimsical turn, he returned to town as a zombie, an undead doctor serving Walnut Grove. Temporal inconsistency. In the grand finale, aptly titled The Last Farewell, a notable continuity mistake catches observant eyes. The episode is set in 1901, over a decade after events depicted in the final season. Logically speaking, most adults who graced screens in earlier seasons would have aged into their 60s and 70s by this time. The real-life Charles Ingalls sadly passed away just 1 year later in 1902. Furthermore, children appearing in final seasons, including Carrie, Jenny, Nancy James, and Cassandra, would have grown into young adults during this time. Yet curiously, no one on the show seems significantly aged. It's as if time stood still, freezing characters in perpetual youthfulness. The inconsistency is particularly evident when considering Laura's voiceover in the Season 9 premiere, when she mentions it's spring 1887, a full 14 years prior to the last farewell events. But it feels as if only a couple of years elapsed in characters' lives. About Michael Landon's difficult beginning. Landon was born Eugene Maurice Orowitz on October 31, 1936, in Forest Hills, a Queens neighborhood in New York. In 1941, when Landon was 4, he and his family moved to Collingswood Borough in New Jersey. He attended and celebrated his bar mitzvah at Temple Beth Shalom. During childhood, Landon constantly worried about his mother attempting to end her own life. He reported that on a family beach vacation, his mother tried drowning herself, but Landon rescued her. Stress overload from his mother's attempts caused Landon to battle childhood bedwetting, which was reported in the unauthorized biography, Michael Landon, His Triumph and Tragedy. His mother put his wet sheets on display outside his window for all to see. Which Little House star achieved greatest wealth? Landon's net worth is estimated at $1 million as of January 2023. He left $8 million to $10 million to each of his 9 children, according to People magazine. His namesake, Michael Landon Jr., went on to become a successful producer and director. He arranged leaving each of his 9 children between $8 million and $10 million and preemptively discouraged fighting among them. Karen Grassel played Caroline Ingalls, the mother of 3 daughters on the show. Though Grassel found success in the acting sphere outside Little House, she never had a more notable role than in the show. After the series ended, Grassel starred in productions such as Harry's War and Wyatt Earp, and today she's still involved with film. Still, her net worth isn't nearly as much as other Hollywood television stars, coming in around $500,000. Melissa Gilbert boasts a net worth of $500,000. Beyond her celebrated acting career, Gilbert's financial journey has been marked by both triumphs and tribulations, offering a nuanced perspective on fame, fortune, and personal resilience. In a surprising turn, Gilbert ventured into politics in 2016, running as a Democratic candidate for Michigan's 8th Congressional District. Despite facing health challenges that led to campaign suspension, Gilbert's foray into public service underscored her commitment to civic engagement and advocacy beyond entertainment. Reports estimate Lindsay and Sidney Greenbush are worth somewhere between $1 million and $5 million combined. But amongst all of them, Michael Landon was worth far more than any Little House co-stars at the time of his death in '91. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and check out another of our interesting videos before you leave.